Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. In this show, we talk to leaders of clubs and interesting folks who live here in the Villages to get perspectives of what is happening here in the Villages, Florida. We are a listener-supported podcast. There will be shout-outs for supporters in episodes.
This is Mike Roth. Listeners, I'm thrilled to share with you this podcast, which is my passion project for you. This podcast brings you knowledge, inspiration, and a lot of things that people need to know about the villages and the people living here. Be sure to hit the follow button to get the newest episode each week. Creating this podcast is a labor of love, even though it demands more time than I can easily spare. Now, here's where you come in. You can help us keep the podcast alive and thriving. How? By becoming a supporter. The easy way for you to support us is to visit our podcast webpage, openforuminthevillagesflorida.com, and click on the supporter button at the top of the page, or the purple supporter box. Even a small donation of $3 to $10 a month makes a big difference, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. Your support means the world to us. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep those headphones on. I hope everyone enjoys today's show. This is Mike Roth on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. I'm here today with Keisha Doak. She and her husband Philip are the owners of a new winery in Wildwood called Wildwood Vineyard and Events. It's a charming vineyard and an event venue in Wildwood, near the Villages. It must be one of those new areas of Wildwood.
It's actually on 462 across from the Girl Scout camp. It's right behind the new Wildwood Police Department.
I call that the new areas as opposed to the area around downtown Wildwood.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And can you actually see it from 301?
No, you have to go behind the police department about 2 miles.
Okay. 2 miles.
2 miles, yep. If you go down the road behind the police department, that's 462. You're going to take a couple curbs and we'll be on the left.
Okay. So it's a pretty convenient location.
It is.
It's much better than some of the other wineries around.
Yes, yeah, it's really close to everything. We're pretty close to the Villages.
How large a winery is in terms of acreage?
We're on 10 acres. So we also have a bar that's indoor, air conditioned. We have a tasting room. We do a lot of weddings, so we have an area under a beautiful tree for weddings. It's pretty cool.
But that's not an air-conditioned event room.
No, most of our events are outside. We have a stage and a lot of stuff outside. But we do have an indoor that's air conditioning for micro weddings or just to come in and try wine and hang out on the weekends.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. Yeah. What month of the year do you harvest wine?
Usually it's 3 times a year.
3 times a year.
January, April, and August.
Now, I understand you and your husband were in the restaurant business before you bought the winery.
We owned Flightline Cafe at the Winter Haven Airport.
Okay. From not being around there, I didn't even know Winter Haven had an airport.
A lot of people don't, believe it or not. It's a municipal airport, a lot of private flying money.
Okay. And why did you buy a winery?
So after years of being in the restaurant industry, I actually retired, and 2 months in, this opportunity became available, and I thought, why not add the crazy stress of a restaurant, throw in some bugs and 10 acres and make it a beautiful venue space. So if my husband was here, he would say she got bored. But we went and looked at the space. We had a lot of opportunity. We saw some great opportunity there. And then we just decided this would be the place for us. It allows us to blend all the things we love, wedding, venue space, wine, and anything that brings good friends and family together.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Can you describe for our listeners what winery guests are going to experience when they visit the Wildwood Vineyard and Event Center?
Everyone says when they come in that it's a vibe. It's just so wonderful and peaceful and loving. Guests are greeted with sweeping views of the trees if they come down any of the side roads. Whether you're coming for a wedding, if you're wine tasting, or just escaping your inbox, it makes you feel like you're going to a retreat. We've had guests say, "Do I have to leave?" And even though we don't encourage squatting, we take that as a compliment.
Okay. Have you ever had any car shows out of the venue?
We haven't. We've actually talked about it a couple of times, and we've had a guest who have rented the space do a car show twice, but we haven't put one on ourselves.
Which car shows were there?
He did a private event with his specific vehicles of his friends. It wasn't like anything crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't like a big name.
Okay. Occasionally, I've been known to do an all-German and all-European car show.
I bet that would be nice.
We're looking at space up in Bellevue in about a week.
We have space available.
How many acres?
10 acres.
10 acres. And how many can you park cars on?
About 6 of them.
About 6 acres. So that means you can get about how many cars there?
A lot.
A lot means...
So when it's 3 different fields, and in the first field that we usually use for parking, you could probably put about 50 cars. So I'm going to guess over 100 total.
Okay. That's a nice sized place then. And that I assume those fields have grass on it or something.
Yeah, it's all grass.
Something closely resembling grass. Now, you've owned the winery since when?
We bought the winery in 2022.
2022.
Yes.
And when did you start selling your own wine there?
2024. It took about 2 years for us to perfect the process.
And what kind of grapes are you actually growing on premises?
We grow muscadine grapes on property, but we also bring in some grapes because some of the wine that we produce would not be great with muscadine grapes. And we found that people around here don't love muscadine grapes. So we have 13 varietals now, and only 2 of them use our muscadine grapes.
So the rest of the grapes come in from outside?
All over the world.
How do they ship grapes in from France or Italy?
Dry freeze.
So they come in cold?
They come in dry freeze overnight. It's very expensive. People are like, oh, your wines aren't cheap. Bringing grapes in aren't cheap.
What are the 2 wines that are produced here and grown here?
A blend, which is called The Devil Drinks Red.
That's an interesting name. The Devil.
All of our wines have very risque labels and very fun names.
Can you give us some examples beyond?
So our white cranberry is called Kiss Me Down Under. Our Cabernet is called Life is a Cabernet. We have Berry Seductive is our Mulberry Moscato. Just a Peach is our peach wine.
You're reminding me of a winery that I toured in the Great Lakes region of New York. One year coming back, I lived in Ohio, so we drove across the Great Lakes region of New York, and we rented a limo for the day with a driver, and we said, take us to as many wineries as we can cover in a day.
Wow. I bet that was fun.
Oh, that was fun. Not having to drive, getting to drink as many samples as you like. And we went to this one, and the wine was terrible.
Oh, no.
But I told my wife I have to buy a couple of bottles of this because the labels were so fantastic, the names and the graphics on the labels.
Yes.
I said, we gotta keep these.
So our 2 newest ones is a Chardonnay called Erotic Temptations and a vanilla bourbon that's called...
Wait, vanilla bourbon?
Vanilla bourbon wine, and that is called...
So, vanilla bourbon wine. Does that have any real bourbon in it?
It does.
What?
Nightly Desires is our vanilla bourbon.
Nightly Desires.
Yes.
Wow. Now, a lot of us villagers buying wine for the name and the label.
We do sell a lot of wine for the name and the labels. People do like our wine, believe it or not. So what we have found a lot of our guests do is they'll drink the wine and then put fairy lights in them and display them on their mantle.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
We have one guest who has purchased every one of our bottles and he displays them in his house. And when guests come over, he tells them, don't touch my ladies.
Are the bottles empty in his house? Or?
No, they're full.
No,
he has bought one to display and one to drink.
Okay. It's pretty cool. Now, you do event planning.
We do a lot of weddings, corporate events, and private parties. Think of us as part wedding planner, part fairy godmother, part therapist. Because yes, we've had more than a few pre-wedding meltdowns. We dive into the couple's vision and we try to create what they really want. It's their event, not mine. So I give them the options and I let them choose. We love it when the guest is involved, but we also do all-inclusives. We just give them what they want, and then we take over. We're not like a cookie-cutter company. We get your opinion, we get what you want, and then we put the package together. It's not, hey, you come in and you get this or this. You get to choose, and then we take over.
Okay, so you serve food there for the weddings?
We do. We cater the weddings. We do entertainment, photography. We can do all, part, or none, depending on what the guest wants.
So you said you had a stage, put the band on the stage?
We do. We did a really cool wedding May of last year. They had a 3-piece band. It was a May the 4th Be With You Star Wars wedding. So they got the dun-dun with the 3-piece band down the aisle. And then they had live entertainment on the stage after. It was pretty fun.
Okay. Sounds like it's a great deal. What days of the week is the winery open to the public so they can come and try or buy your wine?
We're open Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 1 to 6 p.m. And we also do private tours. So if there's a date that works better, you give me a call and we'll make it work.
Oh, so have you ever had any of the car clubs come out there for a private tour?
We have not, but they're welcome to give me a call and we'll make it happen.
Those of you who are Mercedes-Benz club owners.
Those are the ones we want to come in.
Okay, that sounds like an October, November Mercedes tour.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have any future plans or growth plans that you have in mind?
We're not building a castle launching our own reality show. Not yet. Look out, Mike. We might come after you. Just kidding. We do have plans to grow the vineyard, make more of our own wines, and do seasonal events. Our annual cruise is coming back. Last year we went to Japan. This year we're going to Europe. Next year, who knows? If anyone has any ideas out there, let us know.
So let me stop on the cruise idea for a minute. So you're actually signing people up at the winery to go on a wine cruise?
Absolutely. We had so many guests ask us about where to go on their honeymoon that we officially launched our travel website this year. Mm-hmm. So we do everything from honeymoons to cruises to all-inclusives for the wedding or for anyone who's interested in traveling.
So how many cases of wine do you have to send on a cruise with you?
They're only allowed 2 bottles per person, but we'll give them each 2 bottles.
Okay. And what cruise line do you use?
We are able to book any of them. The biggest one right now is Norwegian because they give us the best deals, followed by Royal and MSC. But we can book any cruise line that someone is interested in.
I happen to like Celebrity Princess, and I'm going to be actually traveling on the Norwegian for the first time in October.
Oh, you're going to love it. I love Norwegian. We're actually getting ready to go one Europe in August, and then we're doing a New Year's cruise from December 28th to January 4th.
Pre-booked on the smaller ship that's going to go from Barcelona to Miami. We decided to book.
So you're doing a
transatlantic, yes.
Atlantic, yeah.
So that I don't have to fly again. I have to fly to get to Barcelona.
Yes.
But
you don't have to fly home.
That's right. And the cost was about the same.
Yeah. Because they want to give the boat back.
Whatever. That's a good idea to keep the boat back. Why did you pick Wildwood to buy a winery in as opposed to someplace else?
We originally had the restaurant in Winter Haven, but we lived in Apopka, so we traveled. We came and looked at it after our realtor called us, and we just fell in love with the area. We fell in love with the property, and I just saw so much potential that we just made an offer, and it got approved. Mm-hmm. We made an offer before it even got on the market.
That's a great way to buy it.
It is. And we got a great deal.
Okay. And do you still live in Apopka?
No, we live on property now. I still have the house in Apopka, but we live on property now.
Okay. So when you bought the winery, there was a house on the winery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's pretty cool.
It is. It's nice to be on property. That's why I said if anyone wants to come during the week, give me a call if I'm around. I'll make it happen.
Okay. That sounds like a good thing. So if they actually wanted to do that, how do they get in touch with you?
They could just give us a call, 352-764-9900, or they could go to our website, wildwoodvineyardandevents.com, and they can schedule an appointment there. Those usually require a 24-hour lead time, though.
Now let's take a short break and listen to an Alzheimer's tip from Dr. Craig Curtis.
Amyloid is the spark, and tau is the fire. We have the spark sparking for 20 years without symptoms. Once the spark causes the fire, the breakdown of tau inside the cell, we start to see symptoms. We are actively researching ways to stop tau as well.
Is it possible to regrow new brain cells to replace the ones tau has killed?
That's a hot topic. Scientists, for the most part, do not believe that we can regenerate any brain cells. There have been a few research papers published in the last 4 or 5 years that hint that there might be some brain cell regeneration, specifically in a part of the brain called the hippocampus, which ironically is where Alzheimer's disease starts, but it's really hard to prove that in humans.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the village's community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
We're back with Keisha Doak. She and her husband Philip are the owners of a new winery in Wildwood called Wildwood Vineyard and Events. Have either your husband or yourself been through any wine training?
No, believe it or not. We've been to a lot of wineries and we absolutely love wine, but we've never been through any specific wine training. So that's why it took so long as well for us to start making wine. We actually had a guest come in and was talking to us about how he used to make wine. He came in a couple of times, showed my husband everything he needed to know, and then we took it from there.
Did you need state approval to operate?
Oh, yeah, we need to be cleared by so many different things. The Department of Agriculture, the tobacco and alcohol. Believe it or not, I have to do a federal background check, both my husband and I, and anyone that works at the vineyard. It's a lot of steps to prove to make wine.
Now, can you ship the wine?
We do not ship the wine. That's a whole nother process. Florida is so hot that if we ship the wine, it would have to be overnight, and it would cost so much to ship wine overnight that it's not worth the process to do it.
Okay. And you sell the wine by the bottle at the wine?
We do. You can do it by the glass, by the bottle, or by the case. We also do sampling where you can do, for $1 or $2, you can sample all the wines.
So how many different wines do you have in stock at any one point in time?
So we currently make 13 varietals of our own, but we also have 22 commercial wines as well, and we have beer. Yeah,
Okay.
so for the husband that wants to go with his wife but doesn't drink wine, we have plenty of beers to try.
Are you ever thinking of expanding into making your own beer?
My husband would like to, but we want to perfect a certain amount of wines before we get to that.
Yeah. There's a homebrew beer club here in the Villages.
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah, we had the leader of that club on the show
Nice.
about a year ago. Yeah,
We may need to get him to come show us how to make beer.
I'm sure he would love to.
Yes.
He's always looking for, the way I understand it, they're always looking for brewers to brew their recipes.
Yes.
And the wines that you make there, the 13, those are your own recipes for the wine?
They are. All of them are our own recipes.
So you have a paper and computer version of the recipes?
Yeah, everything is on paper and in the computer, just in case.
Okay. And how do you age your wine?
Barrels, we triple filter everything, and then they sit in steel barrels till it's time to bottle them.
Is that stainless steel barrels? And are those refrigerated?
They are in a cooled room, not refrigerated, but they're in a cooled room
Temperature control room?
with the muscadine grapes. They taste great when you pick them, but in the wine, it's not. A lot of people here don't like them. They're super sweet. We do have quite a few sweet wines, but not everyone wants sweet in their wine.
Yeah, sometimes I like sweet, sometimes I like dry. You sell a non-alcoholic version of the wine, like grape juice?
We do not have a non-alcoholic version of the wine. We have juices and we have non-alcoholic beer, but we don't have a non-alcoholic wine.
What's your most popular flavor of wine or vintage?
Our most popular one is Kiss Me Down Under. It's a white cranberry. It's a semi-sweet, so it's just sweet enough for the sweet drinkers, but just dry enough for the dry drinkers. Followed by our chocolate coffee port. People love our chocolate coffee port. Our vanilla bourbon is also coming right up in the ranks. You know, that one is the newest one that we've had for just a few months, and it's quite popular.
Let's talk a minute about the coffee,
Chocolate?
chocolate coffee. So is there actually chocolate in it?
There is. There's chocolate and coffee in it.
And coffee?
Yes. And it's phenomenal. 90% of the people that come in and say, I don't drink coffee, I don't like chocolate, I don't like sweet wines, they try it and they're like, wow, this really works. And they fall in love and buy a bottle. I'm surprised at how many people come in and purchase a bottle after saying they didn't think they would like it.
Right now, approximately how much would a bottle of wine like that cost?
So the coffee port is $35. It's definitely a higher alcohol volume and it takes a lot more work to make.
Higher alcohol content means
18%.
18%. What are the alcohol content of most of the other wines?
On average, between 12 and 13%.
Between 12 and 13?
Yes.
But that one is
18.
18%. Wow.
Yes. So anyone that drinks a port knows they usually come in smaller bottles. They're sweeter. You drink less of it. It's like a dessert wine. We sell ours in our regular bottle.
Okay. So there's a lot of it in there.
It is. It's made to share.
Okay. That sounds like a good wine to take on a cruise with me.
Yes, absolutely.
I love the names too. I hope our listeners like it too.
We get a lot of people in, believe it or not, that absolutely love the bottles, love the names, purchase it for the pictures. And they're surprised that my husband makes the wine and I create the labels because they look at the labels and they're like, you create labels? I'm like, yeah, I have a very productive mind.
Okay. So you have the machinery, or did you buy the machinery with the winery?
A lot of it came, we've purchased some that we've needed to make it happen, but some of it came with the winery. They were already producing wine before they closed, and they had closed about a year before we took it over. So some of the stuff was obsolete, so we had to purchase some newer stuff. But for the most part, a lot of it was there.
Mm-hmm. Do you give any discounts on wine if you buy a case?
We do. You get 10% off if you buy a case.
Oh, it's not bad. Now, if someone buys a case, will you carry it out to the car for
Absolutely.
them?
My husband would carry it out to the car.
Oh.
That's what men are for.
Okay. When you're driving in off the road to your winery, are people traveling on a paved road or is it a gravel road?
So they're on a main road. 462 is a main paved road. Once they pull in, they're driving into grass.
The driveway in is on grass.
Yes. And then we also have one handicap parking in the front where people can get dropped off. And then obviously park the vehicle in case anyone else needs access to not be able to walk across the field.
Oh, I see. So if someone has difficulty with walking, they pull up to the front of the winery, the disabled person gets out, and then they have to move the car to the parking area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're driving down the road in front of you, have a big sign.
We do. We have a couple big flags that say beer and wine, and we also have a sign up front with our name and hours and everything on it.
So if a club wanted to go out to the winery, take a tour of the winery, have a wine tasting, and a lunch served, can you arrange that? How do you do that?
Absolutely. They just need to let us know in advance. We would create a menu and a price. It would be prepaid, and then we would set it up for the date and time of their liking, and then we make it happen.
Tell me about how you pick the menu. Do you actually create the meals there or you have them catered in?
No, we make everything there. We do.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of items would you have on your food menu for a luncheon?
We can do anything. I've actually been a chef for over 30 years. We own our restaurant. We have a commercial kitchen. But we can, a lot of our most popular is we do a lot of barbecue. We do a lot of Latin, Mexican tacos, Italian pasta bars. It really just depends. But we can pretty much do anything. So I sit down with the guest, the main guest. We create a menu based on what he thinks his people like.
What would the average cost per guest be?
It would really just depend on what they're picked. Anywhere from $20 to $55. If you pick filet mignon, obviously it's going to be more than a pasta bar. So it really just depends on what you choose.
So if you wanted to create a buffet where people could choose, where you had a vegetarian dish, you had a barbecue dish, salad, what would something like that cost?
I would say anywhere between 20 and 30. It depends on the meat they picked for the barbecue. If they want one or two meats, how many sides. It really just all depends on what they want. Anywhere between $20 and $30. It's not like crazy.
So that would be planned with you. They'd have to come out to your place to go over the menu options.
Yeah, so they come out, we sit down, look at everything, see if they have vegetarians, how many vegetarians, if they have any gluten or any other allergies, because we do try to work around that. We can't please everyone, but if it's something simple, we try to accommodate.
Now, in terms of planning an event at your winery, do you operate 7 days a week for events?
So we don't do Sundays or Mondays because even though we're commercial, we're in a residential area. Part of what we're not allowed to do is open Sundays or Mondays, which is crazy, I know. But any other day, we're here for you.
Okay. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Friday, Saturday. Yep.
Okay. And again, why don't you tell our listeners what days that they can just drop by because you're open to sample some of your wines?
So we're open Fridays, 3 to 6, Saturdays, 1 to 6. But if we have a special event like a wedding, we'll be closed. All of our close times are on our website. A lot of holidays, we don't get very busy, so we just close to spend time with our families. It is a small family-owned business, so it's not like we have 1,000 employees. Most holidays we're closed.
So you have 10 acres of land. How many employees do you have?
Currently, we have 4. When we have events, we bring other people in.
And you have your own crushing machines there for the grapes?
Yeah, we have everything.
Do you allow people to come in and see the wine being harvested?
No, we do because it's such a small place that we do it in the back. It's just easier to keep it clean and everything.
Again, in case someone wants to call before they came out, what number should they use?
352-764-9900. We have a beautiful space that's air conditioned indoors, so we're open throughout the summer.
How many people can you fit in the indoor space?
We have fit up to 66. That's a little tight. We like to keep it under 50.
Have you taken any special precautions for rainwater on a rainy day?
We do have a company that'll bring out tents. They're pretty good on last minute unless it's like crazy wedding season. But usually we know in advance. We keep a real close eye on weather, especially since we're predominantly an outdoor venue. So we do keep a close eye on weather leading up to the event. That was the reason we had 66 inside. She had 66 people. It called for rain.
Okay, and the parking area doesn't go underwater?
No, not at all. We don't flood anywhere on property, luckily. We've had 3 years of tracking. Luckily, we've never flooded.
How do you irrigate the grape crops this year when it was so dry?
We have irrigation, yes.
Okay. And where do you get the water for it?
We have a well.
And so you're not using Wildwood city water?
We're not hooked up to city water for any part of the property.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure so they're building all these new properties right when you turn behind the police department. They're building like 3,500 homes, and I'm sure they'll have city water. We have a Wi-Fi box specifically designated for the tasting room and the winery.
Oh, okay. That's great. What if someone wants to come in on a Friday or Saturday for a tasting? How does that work?
They just come in during our hours of operation. They come in. We're playing music always in the background. They have a seat, and we're going to just hang out with them, talk to them about our wines, give them the different samples, and they'll pay based on what they try. We also have flights where they could try 4 3-ounce pours. That way they don't feel like, because the samples are a lot smaller, and they can try 4 wines, and then they can get a glass based on what they're like. We have a lot of couples that'll come in and they'll each get 4 different ones, and then they try each other's, and then they get the glass of whichever they're like. We also just this past weekend did a private dinner for an anniversary. Couple came in, they had a beautiful steak dinner, they had the place to themselves, and they were super happy.
You said you have a commercial kitchen there too. What is the single of your 13 different types of wines that you produce there? What is the single best-selling wine?
I would say there's 2. Definitely our chocolate coffee port, I would say, would be number 1. And then it's a tie between our mulberry moscato and our white cranberry.
Great. Keisha, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Good.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout out for supporters: Tweet Coleman, Ed Williams, Dwayne Romick, Paul Sorgan, and Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. The way our show grows is with your help. Text your friends about this show. If you enjoyed listening, or just tell your friends about the show. We thank everyone for listening. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2025, all rights reserved.